The Zorathian defense fleet crumbled like paper before the Vraxx assault. Admiral Kethvar watched from the command bridge of the Stellar Honor as another of his cruisers exploded in a brilliant flash of venting atmosphere and molten metal. The insectoid Vraxx swarmed through the Kepler 442 system like locusts, their bioships pulsing with organic weaponry that carved through Zorathian shields as if they were mere suggestions. "Admiral, we've lost the Nebula's Edge and Stardancer," reported his tactical officer, her crystalline voice cracking with barely contained fear. "The civilians on New Zorath, they have nowhere to run." Kethvar's 4 arms gripped the command console until his knuckles turned white. Below them, the blue-green world of New Zorath housed 12 million Zorathian colonists, artists, scientists, families who had fled the overcrowded homeworld seeking peace among the stars. The evacuation ships were too slow, too few. The Vraxx would reach the planet's surface within hours. "Send another distress signal on all frequencies," he ordered, though he knew it was futile. The nearest galactic coalition forces were weeks away. The Andromedans were too proud to help their inferior neighbors. The crystalline confederacy moved too slowly to make decisions in time. Only one species had ever responded to Zorathian calls for aid before, but they were so far away. A new voice crackled through the comm system, rough, speaking in the guttural tones of Terran Standard. "Zorathian Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Indomitable. We received your distress call 3 days ago. Sorry we're late to the party." Kethvar's secondary hearts skipped a beat. He'd met humans before, strange bipedal creatures with their oddly intense gazes and tendency toward what they called dark humor. They were young in galactic terms, barely 2 centuries since first contact, but they had something most elder species had lost, an irrational willingness to help others, even at great cost to themselves. "Captain Chen," Kethvar replied, "we are grateful for your response. But I fear one ship, even a human dreadnought, cannot—" His words died as his sensors registered what was emerging from the hyperspace jump point. The UES Indomitable wasn't just a dreadnought. It was a Titan class, one of humanity's newest and most fearsome warships. Nearly 3 kilometers of angular gray metal bristling with rail guns, missile pods, and the distinctive red glow of human plasma cannons. But more than its size, it was the way it moved. Predatory, purposeful, like a shark sensing blood in cosmic waters. "Admiral," his sensor operator whispered, "the power readings. It's generating more energy than our entire fleet combined." The Vraxx had noticed the newcomer too. Their bioships, resembling massive beetles crossed with jellyfish, began to converge on the human vessel. Kethvar had seen what those organic weapons could do. Acid that ate through quantum steel, living missiles that adapted mid-flight, boarding pods that could crack open a ship's hull like an egg. Captain Chen's voice came through again, calm, as discussing weather. "Zorathian vessels, suggest you pull back to a safe distance. We're about to demonstrate why humans never learned the meaning of proportional response." The Indomitable didn't wait for the Vraxx to reach optimal firing range. Its forward batteries opened fire, sending streams of hypervelocity slugs into the alien formation. Where Zorathian weapons had barely scratched Vraxx bio-armor, the human railguns punched clean through, leaving perfectly circular holes that vented ichor and atmosphere into the void. But what truly amazed Kethvar was what happened next. The Vraxx adapted, as they always did. Their ship's living hulls began regenerating, developing thicker armor sections. It should have been the beginning of a long, grinding battle of attrition that the larger Vraxx fleet would eventually win. Instead, the humans adapted faster. "Switching to cluster munitions," Chen announced. "Let's see how they handle this." The Dreadnought's missile tubes vomited forth dozens of warheads that split into hundreds of smaller projectiles mid-flight. The Vraxx bioships, designed to handle large single impacts, found themselves overwhelmed by thousands of tiny explosions that peppered their hulls like cosmic hail. When the Vraxx responded by releasing clouds of defensive spores, the humans switched to directed energy weapons. When the aliens adapted to those, the Indomitable deployed something Kethavar had never seen before, weapons that seemed to tear reality itself, creating miniature black holes that consumed entire Vraxx ships. "By the eternal crystal," his tactical officer breathed, "they're not just fighting the Vraxx, they're fighting the concept of the Vraxx." The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, debris from 43 Vraxx bioships drifted through space like the scattered chitin of some cosmic insect. The survivors, perhaps a dozen ships, fled back into hyperspace, their collective hive mind apparently deciding that this particular prey was too dangerous to consume. Captain Chen's face appeared on the main screen, a human female with graying hair, laugh lines around her eyes, and the kind of smile that suggested she'd just finished an enjoyable but routine task. "Sorry about the mess, Admiral. We'll help with cleanup and escort your evacuation ships to safer space. Oh, and Admiral, tell your people on New Zorath they can keep those gardens they planted. Humans have a saying, nobody gets left behind. That includes neighbors we've never met." Kethavar stared at the human captain, trying to process what he'd just witnessed. In 17 minutes, a single human ship had accomplished what the entire Zorathian defense fleet couldn't manage in hours of fighting. But more than that, they'd traveled across half the galaxy to help people they barely knew, asking nothing in return. "Captain Chen," he said finally, "the Zorathian people will remember this debt for 1,000 years." The human's smile widened, showing those peculiar white teeth. "Admiral, that's what friends are for. Besides, the Vraxx have been bothering everyone in this sector for too long. Sometimes you need to remind the universe that just because something is bigger and older doesn't mean it gets to push the little guys around." As the Indomitable began coordinating with Zorathian rescue ships, Kethavar reflected on something his grandfather had once told him. "Beware the species that calls itself weak, for they may have simply forgotten their own strength." The humans, he realized, had never forgotten anything. They'd simply been waiting for the right moment to remind the galaxy that compassion and fury, when properly combined, could move stars themselves. The Zorathians would indeed remember this, day for 1,000 years. And across the galaxy, other species would learn a simple truth. When humanity's dreadnoughts came calling, they brought more than firepower. They brought hope